Gildong shuddered at the memory of what had driven him to barricade himself in the bathroom earlier that night. What he thought he had heard crawling loudly through the house had been too real, too chillingly vivid to ignore. The sound of scrabbling claws on hardwood had pierced the shadows, zeroing in on his hiding place. He had shown every light, whipped open every closet, and crawled underneath every piece of furniture, desperate to expose whatever might be stalking him in that light-phobic abyss that was his home. But of course he found nothing, only deeper shadows and a renewed sense that the dark held terrors yet unseen. Now all was silent once more, yet the lingering anticipation of unseen dread refused to fade. Gildong listened with painful intensity for any disturbance in the stillness, every sense primed for danger. His grip tightened whitely on the kitchen knife clutched in his right hand, the only tangible reassurance against whatever nightmares might materialize. Minutes dragged like hours as he waited motionless, barely daring to breathe. Eventually, he convinced himself that all was as it should be, empty, innocuous. It had merely been a waking delusion born of exhausted paranoia. A faint metallic click startled him from this wary meditation. Gildong froze, straining uselessly into the inky void beyond the bathroom for the source. Another second passed with no further sound to confirm or deny what he thought he had heard. His pulse roared in his ears as quiet dread crept over him. Then, a faint scraping just outside the door, as of something being slowly dragged across the floor's bare wood. A chill racked Gildong's body, every hair standing on end. Denial screamed within, but was smothered by the horrid certainty that he was no longer alone in the dark hallway. Whatever was out there had found him once more and was toying with him now through the narrow divide of the flimsy door panel. Gildong was sure now. His third sleepless night had hurled his sanity plummeting over the edge and into a nightmare made manifest. He dared not speak or move, every muscle quivering in terror's grip. The scraping continued maddeningly soft, as if whatever entity had tracked him was circling a predator might its wounded prey. An eternity seemed to pass before, suddenly, two sharp raps shattered the midnight stillness. Gildong screamed then, an inhuman cry that ripped his raw throat as he flung himself desperately against the far side of the tub. The knife slipped from his sweat-slick palm and clattered uselessly away into the blackness. His legs simply would not hold him, and he collapsed into a fetal ball, whimpering uncontrollably. Two more knocks echoed his madness, colder and louder than before, and a sibilant scraping joined them, as if nightmare itself now rasped mockingly at the door. Gildong pulled handfuls of his hair, willing the terror to cease, pleading for merciful oblivion. But insanity held him fast in its grip, and he knew no escape from the horrors his fractured psyche had unleashed upon the darkness that was his world now. Two final rapacious knocks sounded, like the crack of splintering bones, and a shadow passed shuddering beneath the door's crack. Then, silence once more reigned absolute. Minutes or hours may have passed as Gildong floated disembodied upon an ocean of madness. Eventually, bit by fragmented bit, awareness returned as the terrors that had gripped him retreated back into whatever abyss had spawned them. Heavy lids closed over dry, bloodshot eyes, and oblivion at last dragged him under. When dawn's hazy light returned Gildong to consciousness, he lay curled and unmoving in the tub's cramped bowels. Gradually, memory returned, and with it an anguished uncertainty. Had the horrors of the night merely been phantasms born of his fractured psyche? Or had some eldritch entity been drawn to feast upon his unraveling nerves? Despite the returned clarity of daylight, Gildong found no answers as he slowly rose weak-limbed from his refuge. Out in the empty hallway, all seemed innocent and mundane once more. Yet deeper shadows yet lingered at the fringes of perception, and a chill lingered in the stillness that no light could fully banish. Gildong never did find sleep's release again. Gradually, madness consumed his days as much as it had his nights. and though the house appeared empty as always in daylight, an unseen presence seemed to stalk just beyond sight. Gildong took to barricading himself once more as dusk's shadows descended, clutching his knife as certain terrors yet prowled the dark.